Welcome to the YouTube channel Awakening with Applewang. I am your host, Applewang. The goal of this channel is to investigate spiritual phenomena such as near-death experiences, deathbed visions, past-life memories, and other spiritual communications, as well as alien and UFO encounters, as to demonstrate the immortality of our souls. My intention is to bring you humanity, healing, wisdom, and answers through sharing some of the profound spiritual investigations and individual encountering experiences, thereby facilitating unconditional love and spiritual as well as universal consciousness. To book a free strategy call, please scan the code below or check out the link at the description box. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Awakening with Applewang. My name is Apple. I am your host. This is episode 8. Today we have special guest, Peter Smith. Pete is a consciousness researcher for almost 30 years. He has founded the Institute of Quantum Consciousness to explore the synergies between science and spirituality. Pete was the president of the Michael Newton Institute from 2009 to 2019 and continues to serve as a member of the advisory board, and he's leading the MNI Beyond program. Pete is the author of Quantum Consciousness, Journey Through Other Realms, and his most recent book is The Transcendence of Celeste Kelly, a novel that draws on a lifetime of consciousness experiences. Today, our topic would be science and spirituality merging through the field of consciousness. Welcome, Pete, to my YouTube channel. It's an honor to have you to be with us.
Well, it's nice to be here, Apple. I love to talk about the work that we do.
Amazing. My first question for you today is, what is quantum consciousness and how did it come about?
Well, I'd always been intrigued by the overlap between quantum physics and spirituality. And when you start to merge the two, you find that a lot of spirituality, and we talk about energy and we talk about consciousness, a lot of that actually fits with quantum physics. Quantum physics talks about other realities, and it talks about how what happens at the subatomic level doesn't really echo the larger landscape in which we live. So it's a little bit mystic, quantum consciousness, and spirituality is mystic. When I brought the two of these together and I came up with the word consciousness, consciousness is something that helps science and spirituality not just overlap, but to actually merge. So for me, quantum physics is the science of possibility. As far as the spirituality is concerned, everything is energy, and the universe is built on an infrastructure of energy, and consciousness brings that to life. So if we put quantum and consciousness together, we get the science of possibility and the fabric of the universe coming together, and we are quantum consciousness, Apple. We are those subatomic particles that are a unique collection that is powered by consciousness itself. So really, my quantum consciousness work is about us.
So it's helping people to actually understand what we really are?
There is so much more to us than we know. We are these incredibly diverse spiritual beings having a human experience. We've all heard that. But we are a multidimensional being that inhabits the multiverse. And we've been conditioned to think very linearly in terms of time and in terms of space. We've been taught that this is all there is. But when you look in the mirror, rather than see a physical specimen, you can see somebody that exists outside of time and space. And the work that you and I do takes people outside of time and space to help them discover who they are. And everybody should know that.
Amazing. When you say multi-dimensional being, can you elaborate that a little bit more?
Okay, well, let me start very simply, first of all, and this is for everybody watching, because you know this and you do this work as well. When we do Life Between Lives work, and we start with our client in the chair, and we go back in time, and they might be 12 years old, and they might be 5 years old, they may be in their mother's womb. All of this is happening through the same portal. That is that person, that is our client that they're. So already they're in about 4 different places. Then we go to a past life, and they're in another place as well, in another time. Then we move into the spiritual realm, and they are back home in spirit. That may echo the work of Michael Newton, or it might be something different, because that work is changing all the time now. So already within the space of some hours, that client has been in 6 different places, outside time and outside space. When I started to look further into quantum consciousness, and we started to bring in some of the aspects of quantum physics, like alternate realities, other dimensions, like we talk about in M theory, the amalgamation of 5 different versions of string theory. You know, they said the math still works when you put in 11 dimensions. Now we're in 3D, time is 4D, so there's another 7 dimensions that we can explore that quantum physics now embrace as part of their philosophy through string theory. When I say we are multidimensional, we are everything that we already are across time and space. We are just this one moment in time, but we echo every other moment. It's like we're holographic in nature. The large and the small are the same. And this amazing body that we are is simply a window to all of those other places.
Beautiful. How would you say that by knowing that we are this multi-dimensional being can benefit a common man who's working in corporate, running their business and running around a household? How would it benefit them to be themselves?
Well, if we can instill within ourselves that we are more than we believe ourselves to be, if we know that we are this spiritual being having a human experience, at the moment, I know firsthand that Pete is a disguise for my soul. Apple is a disguise for your soul. And our disguises are having a conversation while our souls are connecting. Now, for me to walk down, I went for a walk down to the beach near where I live this morning. And Pete went for a walk, but Pete's consciousness was communicating with the ocean. And Pete's vibration rose because I was in a frequency of serenity and peace as I looked out to the horizon and felt the immensity of the ocean. And you can project your consciousness into the ocean and you can feel the ocean. Now, if I just felt I was Pete, I'd just be going for a walk on the beach, but I go there to communicate with the all there is. That's why I go down to the beach. For the man who's walking around the house, doing his things, maybe some chores, maybe looking after things, if he knows for a moment that that's his disguise doing what he needs to do while he's in human form, that's necessary. But the real job is how I wish to explore and express my consciousness while I'm here in this body. So for me, it's about Pete's my disguise, and I need to look after my disguise. He needs to be fit and healthy and eat the right things and be in the best possible environments he can be that help the physical. But while I'm doing that, there's so much more I can be doing. And by helping people understand that they are so much more than they are, et cetera, to write books that might inspire people, to teach some classes that help people remember who they are. So none of that would be possible without this disguise that I've chosen. A long answer to your question, but the summary is remember you're the disguise and that there is so much more to you in what you have to offer than just what the disguise has, and go about doing it.
So in that, the body is a vehicle, a disguise that the soul actually chose, and we're here to have some mission, some purpose
Oh, absolutely. And we know that from the work of Michael Newton and his institute that you and I are both members of. But let me say as well that, and I would really love for people to know this and understand this because it's really important. Your soul chose to be you out of 8 billion options on this planet. Okay, you chose here to be in these times, these difficult times. Now, that courageous souls are the ones that are here now while we go through a transition of consciousness as we evolve to closer towards our potential of who we really are. But for your soul to choose you ahead of 8 billion other people, I wonder if that's the greatest act of unconditional love that we will ever participate in, that we will ever receive, that we are 1 in 8 billion and we were the only ones that would do. And our soul chose us. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
It's magic.
It is.
Yes. Tell us a little bit more about Michael Newton Institute.
Well, for people who don't know, Michael Newton wrote some amazing books, Journey of Souls and then Destiny of Souls. And he had some clients who flipped into a different place, one in particular. This lady was very lonely in life and was suffering from depression. And like a good hypnotherapist or psychotherapist would do, they take you back to the source of that distress. And instead of going to the source, she catapulted back into the spiritual realm where she met with the members of her soul family that she incarnated with. And she had incarnated into this earth plane to learn independence and not to be reliant on her soul friends. So that started him thinking, and he explored more and more, and people were asking for past life work. This was back in the 1960s. People were asking for past life work. He said, I don't do that stuff. But he couldn't avoid it for long because he was thrown into it through this client experience, and then others started to come that opened his own spiritual understanding of the universe and the metaphysical generally. And he started to take people beyond past lives and into the in-between. Now, over 35 years, he continued his research and he did around 7,000 cases. And he put them in his books, Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls, and Life Between Lives Hypnotherapy was born. So he started an institute. It's now spread to 40 different countries, 20 different languages in which we do the work. And we take people beyond past life work and into the in-between so that they can, once they're outside time and space and they're in the now time of the spiritual realm, they have a sweeping view across the lineage of their soul. They can ask why they chose this particular body, what they've come here to do. They can look at the contracts that they have in place for this lifetime, and they can understand their role in this transition of human consciousness. Because when we move into that deeper superconscious state, we transcend the human personality and we move into the character of our soul. And often we'll have clients who will speak in the third person, and they'll talk about, my soul will talk about Pete rather than as Pete, because it's at a whole other level of consciousness from what we have here in human form. The work's been inspiring people for a long time now. The members of the Michael Newton Institute, people like you and me and 200 others around the world, we've reproduced Michael's original 7,000 cases 10 times over. The Institute which is run pretty much by volunteers like you and me. What we do is we continue the work going, and we work on various projects or part of our infrastructure, our research team, our mentoring team, whatever it might be. And our role is to take the work forward now that Michael's gone. So if you like, we're the custodians of his legacy to humanity to continue to take this work forward and share it with people.
So the Michael Newton Institute does training?
Yep.
The training healer or light worker to become a life between life therapist.
Yep, they start as a hypnotherapist and move through that training. Yep, research, absolutely.
What sort of a research?
Well, one of the big research projects that we did in recent times was we were looking for a spiritual angle from the other side of what the pandemic was really about. We did 25 Life Between Lives sessions of people going into the spirit. These were our own people, facilitated by our own people. So those 25 those research outcomes, if you like, they were, it's been published in both Nexus magazine, which is a metaphysical magazine that's based in Australia but goes around the world, and in the UK journal of one of the psychology journals in the UK. Can't remember exactly which one off the top of my head, but there is an article that we can offer your readers if we want to. But what it showed was that this was a reset for humanity. And at both the individual and the collective level, we had a choice between love and fear. And we were offered this reset, and it was up for all of us to make that decision about which way we went. And you know what? We always think it's sort of love and hate, or courage and fear. But the way it was offered to us, it was, you can choose love or you can choose fear. And one has a higher vibration and one has a lower vibration. And in one particular example from one of the people who did this research as the subject, they told a story about, it's like this phenomenon has come along and it has wiped everything off the table that used to be there, and we can now put the things back on the table that we want to. And this is all about free will. And that, of course, is the energy of the universe, that we have free will. As part of our consciousness, we can make our own decisions and we can choose. That was a great piece of research. The next piece we're doing is about the transition of consciousness. We've only just started that. But again, we're asking questions, where is the consciousness of humanity now and where is it going? That's a piece of research that we have underway now. It's early days, but we have about 40 people involved in that. So we'll be drawing on around 40 sessions. It's being run by a couple of our great people from the Advisory Council. Ilsa, who runs research, Ilsa Ambrose, and Sanela Kovic is going to then take that research and publish it into a book, which we'll have available hopefully next year. So there's a lot happening in our research department.
Amazing. You mentioned the pandemic, spiritual insight. Would that be okay to share some of the wisdom with the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the themes that came through there were about love versus fear, but it was also about how there is part of a transition happening in humanity. And one of the research subjects also talked about Gaia, about our Mother Earth, that she's changing as well, and we have to change along with it. And we need certain catalysts for that to happen. And the energy created around the phenomenon of the pandemic was part of that. You know, often we hear things like, transition comes with pain, and that it's almost like a rebirthing of a new consciousness. And we heard information that was along the lines of how old systems are falling away and new systems in a higher vibration need to emerge. I can make a copy of that article available following our conversation, if you like, and you can offer that to your readers or your listeners if you'd like to.
Amazing. When you say that transitioning, can you tell us a bit more about the transition?
Okay. We're at a certain level of consciousness on this planet, and we've been sort of stuck here for a little while. And a lot of people talk about ancient scriptures that talk about an awakening. They talk about how things are going to change, about how humanity will awaken to a greater purpose and take our place amongst the stars. I have seen a lot of changes even in the Life Between Lives work that I do, which has led me further into the quantum consciousness work. When I first started to do Life Between Lives sessions almost 20 years ago, people would come and they would ask about, what is my purpose for this lifetime? What am I here to do? And they would talk about the long history they have on this planet. These days, when I do these sessions, not that long later, maybe 15 years later, people are now saying, they're not saying, what am I here to do? They're saying, I am here to be part of the changes. I'm here to help awaken humanity to a new consciousness. I've done this in other places before, and that's why I've come here to help. And a lot of them have soul lineage that is based in places other than Earth, which might be other dimensions, other planets. I've always asked my clients over the years in this work, have you ever had an incarnation on another planet or in another dimension? And just about everybody over the years has said yes. And once they see that, it helps them understand more of their cosmic heritage or more of the nature of their soul by knowing that they are so much more than this one human being that they see in the mirror.
I hope you're enjoying the show so far. Now, please allow me to share a little bit about myself. As a professional working in the field of helping people, I have an advanced diploma in clinical hypnotherapy and psychotherapy. I'm also specifically trained in past life regression, quantum healing hypnosis technique, and the life-between-life therapy. With this profound technique that I have learned, I have been helping many of my clients, particularly in the area of relationship healing and pain management. To learn more about hypnotherapy and what I do, please visit my website. You're also very welcome to book a free initial strategy call with me. Scan the code or check out the booking link at the show notes. What sort of interesting stories that you came through as particularly profound in your personal opinion?
What I love is when a client brings to you an experience that is very different from anything that you've had before. And it is very humbling. And it's usually guided by spirit that we are shown something for our own learning. And I've lost count of how many moments like that I've had over the last 20 years. One that comes specifically to mind is one client who came and they were a portion of a group consciousness. And they said, well, I'm a collective consciousness and I'm maybe 1/12 of that collective consciousness, but I'm the courageous part. So I'm the one that incarnated, and all of my experiences here are felt and experienced by the others that are back in the other dimension. And that was interesting for me. And what they told me was that this individual and unique consciousness that we have here on this planet is not necessarily how consciousness works in other places of the universe where things are more connected. And consciousness is more shared. And the communication is more telepathic than it is through a language that is offered by one of these individualized consciousnesses to the others. And we have many different languages on this planet anyway. So that really started me to consider that consciousness as we know it on this planet is not necessarily the way it is experienced in other places. Now, that gives us great opportunities to explore consciousness more fully outside of the human body. You know, what is consciousness like elsewhere in the universe? What other dimensions and realities exist that we can explore? And that's what took me more down a path of moving along the quantum realm as well, looking for the other dimensions.
How different does that feel for you? Or, I mean, by knowing the differences, how does it help humans to become better race in the universe?
Yeah, great question. I think it gives us something to aspire to, Apple. If we look at this planet and we see the tragedy and we see the things that are happening here that are not good, and I feel that in many ways humanity has lost our way. And for us to have an example to work from, that for us to understand that there is another way to look at life and to look at consciousness helps us to understand that, you know, more than ever, that we've lost our way. I mean, a very simple example. You know, there are some people who are very, very rich on this planet. and there are children who starve to death every day. And I won't go anywhere near the wars that are happening on our planet just now because they make no sense with people in the middle of all that. But when you look at the diversity of humanity, from the people who have so much and the people who have so little, but we are one people. I mean, how can this be? How could we let this happen? Unless there is something very wrong with the way that we look at life and we look at ourselves. And sure, we have separation. We separate into countries, we separate into races and languages and religions. We have this incredible separation, but at the end of the day, we are one humanity. You know, if a large meteor hits our planet, we are all affected the same. And we are one people. And I don't understand how we can continue to embrace that separation when we should be coming together and not further apart. So when we visit these other races and these other examples of how civilizations are in the universes, it gives us something to aspire to and to know that there's another way.
Where do you think things has gone this way happened on Earth? Was that because the meteorite hit Earth, or was it the choices the individual spark actually made?
I think that humanity has a history of bad decisions. You know, people make decisions that are based on materialism and based on power and based on greed. And I think that we have a very long history of those types of energies, control. So rather than helping other people, I think that sometimes when somebody has an advantage, they use that advantage over other people. And I think humanity has too many places where that kind of culture prevails. There are other beautiful places as well on this planet where people work together and they find common ground and a common good, and there are high vibrational communities in different places. So it's like we are two worlds living as one. The people who understand that there is more that we should be doing to come together, and the people who like things the way they are. So my hope for humanity is that the numbers of people who want humanity to move to a new consciousness continue to grow and people awaken. And we say we've had enough of these systems that are based on power and greed and control. We've had enough of those and we want something else. The way to awaken humanity to a new way of being, I feel, is for individuals to awaken. And then they tell somebody else, and then they tell somebody else, and they tell somebody else. And soon all of those particles become a wave. And we have a wave of change that sweeps this planet in ways that we haven't been able to do before.
How would you suggest an individual become more awakened?
I encourage everybody to explore beyond your conditioning. We all went through, schools, education systems, familial conditioning, societal conditioning. We've been told that this is who you are and this is how you should be. And I'm a great example because, I came through an education system and ended up in a corporate career, and I looked around and I thought, I'm in the wrong place. This is not where I should be because this just doesn't feel right. So I can talk more about that transition in a moment, but for me, it's about stepping outside of the conditioning that we've been offered. In Western society, we're told you should work hard, get a good job, pay a lot of tax, earn more money, pay even more tax, maybe get a big mortgage on a house and then pay a lot of money to a bank for that mortgage. And, you need to have possessions, and materialism is your state of worth. All of these belief systems in our Western culture are just plain wrong, and they make no logical sense, because when it comes to the end of this lifetime and we leave this beautiful body that we've chosen, we leave it all behind. So we spend our lifetime accumulating all of these things that we'll never use when we could be doing something quite different. I entered corporate life very early from school and studied along the way as well. Business school and at one of the big universities in Sydney while I was working, and I was in banking, and I moved through the ranks to become an executive, and I was in my 30s, and I looked around and I thought, this doesn't inspire me. I looked further up the chain of the people who were above me in that bank, and I didn't see anybody that I saw as a role model, or very few, maybe a couple, but they were sort of the outliers, not the normal people. And I realized that to stay in corporate life, I would need to virtually sell my soul, as people say. And the culture was something that I couldn't sustain any longer. So I started to bring change. And this is what I'd offer to anyone who wants to undertake a new energy into their lives. That, you've got the old energy and you've got the new energy. It doesn't have to go like that. It just goes a little bit, and then a little bit, and then a little bit, and a little bit more. And the bank that I was working for were putting me through an MBA, a master's course. And they were ready to put me into my master's year, and I dropped out. And I went and learned hypnotherapy as well. This is 20 years ago more. And everyone thought I was completely crazy. They're trying to put you through university to help you to have the best possible education. Why would you drop out and go and learn hypnotherapy? And my answer was very simple. I felt called to do so. As I graduated as a hypnotherapist, and then I found Journey of Souls, Michael Newton's book, which inspired me. I was still in corporate work for a little bit, but I was working there Monday to Friday, and Saturday and Sunday, I ran a hypnotherapy clinic. So I was sort of living in two worlds. And then gradually the corporate piece dropped away. I left that, and I did some consulting work for a while, just a few days a week, while the hypnotherapy part built. I ended up opening a hypnotherapy school, ended up working with the Michael Newton Institute. Eventually I opened the Institute for Quantum Consciousness as well. And gradually the corporate work fell away because it was a different frequency to what I had moved into. So it was like I followed the energetic path gradually, and my transition probably overall, from the time I learned hypnotherapy to the time I completely gave the corporate work away, was probably about 4 years.
I wonder, what questions did you ask yourself to promote that change?
It's a time of deep internal reflection. And the first question I asked myself was, am I happy? And I wasn't happy. And I felt trapped. And the first catalyst for change is dissatisfaction with where you are. So the first thing I said was, am I happy? And once I knew very deeply that I wasn't, then I was ready for change. And then I asked, what am I to do? Show me the way. And that's when I accidentally found a hypnotherapy course. And I accidentally found Journey of Souls in a bookshop when I was looking for a book for somebody else, not even me. So through those synergies, it's like Spirit was leading me on a path. So when you say, show me the way, it's great to say, show me the way, but then you must listen. And when you listen and you are able to follow the messages, then you can't go astray, because you realize that you're listening to your own soul. And that is like an internal guiding system that allows you to find the path for which you originally came and planned before you got here. So there are still choices along the way. I think we inevitably end up where we're meant to be, even if we fight it for a while. I feel that we turn up where we're meant to be because our purpose is encoded within us, and I feel that we will always drift towards it. And in some ways, that kept me going for a long time, but I got to a point where even me having a purpose felt restrictive. So I said, I surrender my need to have my own purpose, and I just want to be guided to be used by the universe for the greatest good. So I surrendered my individual need for purpose, and I just asked to be shown what I could do to help with this shifting consciousness. I knew I was here to be part of that. But once I dropped my own need for purpose out of that. Everything got bigger quickly. And I was led into new people, to new things, and every day I'm grateful for the life I now have. But it was a transition that took some time, and I made lots of mistakes along the way because I didn't listen well enough. There was a time when Spirit was nudging me to do something, and I kept saying no, and I got cancer in my ear on the left side, on the spiritual side, because I wasn't listening to Spirit. That was their way of waking me up. I said, yes, okay, now I understand. And then I brought further change to my life.
So the process is ask questions, ask what we aspire for, what we want to achieve, and listen, and then follow the insight. I wanted to go a little bit of detail when you said listen, and in your case, you didn't listen well. So what people should listen out for? And what are the ways that the messages or insight came through? How do I know that it's my guides or higher purpose telling me?
My advice is to feel into your internal resonance. When a message comes to you, and there's lots of confusion because everybody will tell you what you should be doing. You should not do that. You should not do that. I told people I was leaving corporate life to pursue a career as a hypnotherapist, and they said, don't do that. That's the wrong path. It was the wrong path for them, but it was the right path for me because when I tuned in inside, there was a peace. There was a resonance that came to me and that always tells me, well, I'm on the right path. Sometimes it's even an excitement. Like when I get an idea for a new project or a new course to teach, whatever it might be, sometimes the ideas come in the middle of the night. I get out of bed and I write on a flip chart about what the course is. And you can feel the resonance or the excitement or whatever it is. So my advice to people is to pay attention to the higher vibrational feelings that you have. When you feel peaceful or you feel inspired or you feel energized, those are the feelings and the sensations to watch for, and they're the ones to follow.
Feelings. Great. In my case, it's actually a thought came to my head. You need to do that. I said, oh, cool. That's something quite interesting. And I contemplated on that as becoming a healer.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So you found Michael Newton's book, and you actually personally work with Michael Newton?
Yeah. I spent 10 years running his organization. I'm still on the advisory council now. When I retired I sort of retired as president, we moved that into 4 different jobs because the institute was just getting too busy. So we now have a group of 8 people leading the Michael Newton Institute in different roles. So, he was, if anyone has read his books, Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls, he was a remarkable person. We still feel him around, guiding us, of course. But when you read his books, he sounds very formal, but he was much more relaxed in the flesh. And he was a man of great wisdom, and he was a man of great humor. He had a very big laugh, and he liked to use it. But he was also very humble. And he said to me one time, why do these people pay so much attention to what I say? I said, well, you wrote the books. Don't you understand how they see you? And there's a funny story, if I can tell that, Apple, when we were doing a training. We had a plan, and this was Paula Rand's idea, who was our long-term director of education and was president before me many years back. And he had a plan that if we ran a training near Michael Newton's house in California, he wouldn't be able to resist the temptation and he'd come along. So, and that was at the San Damiano Retreat Center, which is a Franciscan monastery out the back of San Francisco. A beautiful place and a beautiful energy to run a training. We've run a number there over the years. So we held this training, and he did want to come. And I was president then. He rang me up and he says, I might stop by the training. I said, okay, well, have a chat to Paul and maybe you want to say a few words. And then a week later, he rang back and he said, maybe I could teach just a little bit. said, okay. And he rang back the next week. Maybe I could teach like a couple of different bits. And by the time he'd made 3 or 4 phone calls, he was very much enrolled, and he made a comeback to teaching at the age of 81, I think. Anyway, so he rang me back and he said, I'm worried we won't get enough people. I said, believe me, if you're coming to the training, we'll have enough people. People will come to hear you speak. He says, I'm not sure. He says, I'm going to get the yellow pages out. This is how old-fashioned he was. I'm going to get the yellow pages out and look for hypnotherapists and ring them up. So he rang up one person and he said to this lady, he said, oh, you're a hypnotherapist, aren't you? And she says, yes, I am. And you do past life work, don't you? Yes, I do. She says, well, my name's Michael Newton, and I wonder if you'd like to come to a training to do life between lives work, because we do more than past life. And she said to him, who are you? Everybody knows I love those books. Who put you up to this? This is a joke, isn't it? Michael Newton would never ring me up. He says, that's me, it's Michael Newton. She says, no, it's not. This is a prank, and one of my friends have put you up to this, and I know this, and I'm hanging up now. So that person then went online, and they realised that the voice they heard on the phone was the voice of the person who rang them up. And they enrolled in the training, and they're one of our people now. But that was, I guess, an example of Michael's humility, that he would never believe that somebody would see him like that. He was just trying to help find students. And then when I spoke to him on the phone, he said, you were right, I shouldn't make those phone calls.
We wouldn't have expected a teacher, master, the founder of this organization would ring us individually. So I guess that's totally unexpected.
Absolutely.
But the beautiful work that he has done and paved a path for you and I and other practitioners all over the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And our role is to continue what he started. And people think that Michael's legacy is about his methodology, about his model and all that. But I see his legacy as something quite different. I see him as a trailblazer of consciousness. I see him as a person that opened new doorways to spirit. I see him as somebody who was not satisfied with the way things were, and that we should do better. We should do more. There is an unlimited workplace for us. So the best way we can honour him is to continue to grow and evolve the Institute like you and I are involved in now, as we take the Newton Institute into new space. I feel that's what he's asked us to do in his third book, when he said, I expect the next generation of people to take the work further. And that's what we're in the process of doing now.
I'm sure we are. And the spiritual world, it's ever evolving, and I believe it evolves so fast. Like, I had a plan yesterday, it no longer applies to tomorrow.
Well, it's wonderful to have you doing this work in Adelaide, Apple, because for many, many years in Australia, we've been looking for somebody to do life between lives work in Adelaide. And I know you do lots of other things as well. But I can understand that you would be getting very busy, because for many years, people have been from Adelaide have said to me, when are you coming to Adelaide? And I say, I haven't got time to come to Adelaide. So it's great to have you there.
Yeah, predominantly my work is actually spiritual hypnotherapy, which is the life between lives, soulregression, and quantum consciousness work. We call it a different name, different label, but in essence, we are connecting to the same source to obtain understanding about who we are, why we get these disease, ailments, struggles, what this relationship is all about.
That's it, exactly. Yeah, there are many paths up the same mountain, but we're all helping people climb that same mountain.
It's amazing, simply just beautiful, and I felt like constantly I'm in this blissful state. I can't believe in it, and because last night I went to bed, I was just smiling, and this never ever happened before. Because when I wake up, I feel so good each morning, and the first thing I do is meditate an hour or two. I'm just have this luxury and so blessed. And last night I went to bed, I was just smiling. I'm like thinking, wow, this is unbelievable. This
Fantastic.
Feeling, experience, yes.
Yeah.
This program is produced by Zentopiahealing and soulregression hypnosis, with a mission to help individuals to awaken from their daily mundane lives. If you enjoy the show, your considerate donation is graciously welcomed. Please scan the code below for donation or check out the link at the show note. Like it, subscribe it, all of your support is sincerely appreciated. I'm curious about your books. Tell us about them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first book, second book I wrote, but this one I wrote some years ago called Quantum Consciousness. And that outlined the quantum consciousness model and the work that we did. Michael was an inspiration for quantum physics. He was a big fan, and he mentored me early in the days when that work was evolving. And we started to take people to alternate realities, to interdimensional places, to go back and to do healing of younger selves, or even the wisdom of younger selves. It's like once we came out of time and space, we could go into any of these different realms and these different dimensions. So we would meet different versions of ourselves. We would meet what I call parallel lives, that people often refer to as past lives, of course. Once you move outside linear time, you've got access to those in a different way. So it really helped us to put together a model for the interdimensional nature of our consciousness. That book included lots of different case studies, linkages into quantum physics and that sort of thing as well. So it's been out for a while now, and I've had some good feedback on that over the years. So, but more recently, my work's been about trying to find new ways to take this work to the world. And the more recent book that I put together was this one called The Transcendence of Celeste Kelly. And this one's actually a novel that puts together the story of a quantum physicist who discovers consciousness and sets about to try and change the world through creating a reality where, you know, we have a higher vibration for the future of our planet. And there's lots of twists and turns. There are people that don't want her to succeed and try to make it difficult for her. She meets the right people. She discovers more about her own consciousness and where she's from and who she is along the way as well. So that was launched back in July, and I've had some good feedback on that as well. I'm presenting at a book club next week in the US. So I feel that what really helps me is to put things down on paper that are ideas and their thoughts, and eventually they become books. So it's like a natural process, and I really believe, Apple, as well, that books come through us and not from us. And I remember writing both those books and feeling at the time that, reading back over what I'd written and saying, wow, this reads pretty well. I don't think it was me.
So it's the consciousness.
Yeah, absolutely. We just have to listen. And when we listen, it comes.
So the difference between the quantum consciousness book that's a non-fictional and that you're moving towards a fictional story base, and what drew you to change?
Well, I thought we could get to a whole lot of other people. When you write a non-fiction book, unless somebody is very enrolled in that particular subject, they're not going to read it. But when you write a fictional novel and you bring a lot of that consciousness experience into the storyline, you can have an opportunity to get the message across, and you can have some creative pieces as well that show the true potential of the work. So, but it's a big shift from being a non-fiction writer to being a fiction writer. But I had a really good editor who helped me along the way. So for me, it's about when you can put something into a story, then you teach in a whole different way, because humanity has always learned through stories. You know, we tell stories to the children who tell stories to their children when they grow up, and lots of our cultures, folklore, have been based on that we often transmit wisdom from one generation to the next through stories. So for me, stories are very powerful. And Stories never go out of fashion because everybody is ready for a good story.
So it's a new way, a very creative way to encourage the audience, the public, the common man, everybody who love a story and come into understanding the higher consciousness.
Absolutely. And, there's so many different ways that you can tell that story, and people will read themselves into that story, and they'll learn about consciousness by reading a story about consciousness. And in some ways, that can get past the people's logical mind and can touch their heart and can inspire them in new ways. So I think that's just another way for us to do the work.
Where can people get the books?
Usually Amazon or the online bookstores are the best place. I think that's easier for everybody these days. Both those books are available in online stores of people's choice, Amazon and the like. So that's probably the easiest way. And they're both ebooks as well, which makes it easier for people.
And could you tell us about your institute?
Yes, the Institute for Quantum Consciousness. We've been running for about 10 years now. We take people on journeys that go into the other realities, the other dimensions. They bring forward healing that might be intergenerational. Some of our more advanced journeys, we help people who are empath. We go back before they're born and we offer them a different energetic protocol to come into life. We like do a reset that helps them to understand energy better. We work with people who've got off-world origins by helping them take themselves home through something we call cosmic home. So somebody who may not be as comfortable here in human form because they've got a soul lineage that is more cosmic. We work with those people as well. Sometimes we'll clear ancestral lines. So when you go out to work in the quantum field, there's a lot of different things that you can offer. And we have lots of individual journeys. We do from what we call quantum and universal consciousness. But we have people that are based in lots of different countries now, all around Australia as well. And they continue to take the work forward. We usually train people who are already practitioners of a different modality. It's not really courses for beginners. We take people who are already in practice and we show them some new tools and techniques, and we ask them to take the work forward and make it their own. We've been doing a little bit of research as well. I don't really get much time to do research with the Institute for Quantum Consciousness because I'm busy with the Michael Newton Institute and teaching different courses as well. And I'm still doing the one-on-one work as well. But we want to do more research. We released a paper a year or two ago about where people go in interdimensional consciousness. And a lot of that was about having your consciousness actually inhabit another type of life form, or it could be connecting with a civilization that's not from here. A lot of people were offered metaphoric stories as well, because metaphors are a great way to communicate. And some people just had the experience of being a light being or some sort of an energetic type life form that had a fluidity to existence that we don't normally see. So, the bottom line there is that we started the Institute for Quantum Consciousness to, if you like, bridge the quantum and the spiritual realms together into consciousness. And we're expanding quickly. It's so mmany people want to know about this work now.
If a practitioner who is interested, can they do parallel study with LBL, life between life therapies, and this quantum consciousness therapy? Or do they do one first and another coming later?
Well, I know a lot of people that have done both because they offer different things. Life Between Lives is normally for hypnotherapists who want to move into a more spiritual aspect of their work after they've done past life work that usually whets their appetite. So that's about understanding that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. The quantum consciousness work is more about understanding that you are a multidimensional being that has potential beyond your knowing. So a lot of people have done both and look at them both together or separately, different organizations, of course. But the bottom line there is for everybody to just keep learning, keep exploring, and doing more of what you came here to do. Don't be quiet. Don't be still. Keep moving.
So the Quantum Consciousness Institute that you ran does not require hypnotherapy background?
No, we have lots of different people that come from other modalities as well. We train people who've been in clinical practice in lots of different ways. I have a course in a few weeks, and we have a physiotherapist coming. She has a very strong spiritual side. So, I think the times have come to move outside of modalities and to realize that consciousness takes many forms, and to help people learn more about consciousness is a wonderful way forward.
Throughout the conversation, I noticed that you actually mentioned three terminology: the intergenerational consciousness, quantum consciousness, and the universal consciousness. What are the differences?
Well, universal consciousness is a cluster of things that we do in a course. For me, quantum consciousness, if you like, was the model we originally came up with. Universal consciousness takes aspects of that model and builds them into individual journeys that we take people on. Interdimensional consciousness is one of those journeys. The terminology, we could drop the front part off all of it, I guess, and just call it consciousness. But it all started with the leveraging out of quantum physics that set us free to start to explore things more broadly than we had in the past.
So the understanding the term of consciousness is a way to actually expand beyond this physical realm, so we actually know why we're here, how we can attain the inner peace.
Yeah, absolutely. To try and make it a simple model for the people who are listening. Everything is energy, and the whole universe is built on an infrastructure of energy. Consciousness brings it to life, and it adds the color and the texture to that infrastructure of energy. And our awareness is where we choose that our consciousness can go in any given moment, depending on what we're ready to explore. Anyone who's listened to this, you are an energetic being, first and foremost, with that infrastructure. You are powered by consciousness, and your awareness may at the moment be with us in this conversation, but then it'll move to the next thing. But you are always energy, and you are always consciousness, and your awareness is your free will as to where you want to surf the universe and where you want to be.
So Life Between Life therapy could help a person to truly explore their spiritual journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Life Between Lives has been a huge part of my life for 20 years now. I've seen incredible changes in people. I've met some wonderful, wonderful explorers. And what it does is it moves you beyond the thinking that physical death is something that is difficult. And past life work as well. These things, they cure the fear of death. And if that's the greatest fear that we have, then if that's cured, then all the others look smaller as well. So when we realize that death is just a beginning, life changes. And for anyone who's ready to explore that type of work, to come out of their body and to understand that they're more connected to the universe than they realize, life changes, life gets better, and you continue to explore because you're always looking for more.
And the more isn't just about physical money, bigger houses, and nicer cars.
No, that's all the stuff we leave behind when we're done. I mean, it's not necessarily a path to enlightenment. It might help us feel better from the human ego perspective. Might help us feel that we're a better status in society through a society that measures things by wealth. But ultimately, the path forward is the internal path, not the external.
Internal.
Yeah.
Inward. Upward.
Absolutely.
Now, some of the audience might be thinking this is the end of the world. I mean, any books or any tips that I can share with them to encourage them to explore beyond this physical body?
Well, my advice to most people is pretty simple. Turn the television off and read a good book. That good book can be Michael Newton's work. Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, Michael Talbot's book, The Holographic Universe, anything that draws your interest in terms of the spiritual aspects that have a strong foundation in some scientific endeavor. Not all science is open to spirituality. But for me, when we look at something that draws on quantum physics, then there's a level of science in there that is really open and is talking about other dimensions that, enhance the spiritual landscape that we're talking about today. So my first advice is to, turn the TV off and read a good book, one of these books. My second thought would be to challenge your own conditioning and to understand why you think how you think, that you will be locked into a belief system that may or may not serve you, and to see it as a belief system and not as the programming that's been offered to you, to try and step outside of that whenever you can. And my third piece of advice is to do anything that you can that raises the vibration of who you are. And that might be contact with nature. It might be healthy foods. It might be more water. To have a more holistic diet that is based on high vibrational foods. That does everybody good. But more than anything, do what makes your heart sing. And that's my fourth one. Just do what makes your heart sing, because that's usually the path that you're meant to tread.
Amazing. For people who are struggling in their lives, they are wondering what is this awakening actually means. How would you advise them to go a step further? They're kind of curious in the space, but not sure what to do.
For anyone who's in distress, and years ago when people were locked up at home, I started some meditations based on some artwork filmed in a forest, and that's available on one of my websites called The Transcendence Adventure. If you're struggling, find a way to address the feelings, knowing that you are not your feelings. If somebody is anxious, you're experiencing anxiety. People aren't depressed, they do depression. So to understand that first thing is, if you have distress, know that you aren't your distress, you're doing the distress, and there'll be a greater purpose behind it. There'll be a reason that it's there, and reach out and seek help from somebody who can help you. People like us can help. To go to the practitioner listing that's on the Michael Newton Institute or the Institute for Quantum Consciousness, these places have well-trained practitioners that can help anyone who's there. But the real message I want to send to somebody is that if your life is out of kilter, if there's difficulty happening in your life, chances are it's a possible awakening waiting to be waiting to unfold, and sometimes you need some help to do that. But just know that you are beautiful and powerful beyond your knowing. If you're experiencing something, it's distress, and it might just be what we call a request for resonance. It comes into your line of sight because it seeks to be transcended, and to be able to do that will set you free.
That's a wonderful tips over there. So people can see therapists or maybe even become a therapist.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a beautiful path to tread, and it's very, as you know, Apple as well. It's fulfilling to be able to help people on their journey and to watch them grow and develop, and that's a gift.
Absolutely. What I could say is the world beyond physical. It's anything is possible. The possibility of healing, of growth, and helping others. Because we aren't just you, just this body. We're just really truly more than this. And how could we help others to realize? For the audience and for us as practitioners, we all take a small part in this journey, and we're doing this all together.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all one humanity, and don't listen to the news that tries to get us to separate. We've all chosen different disguises, but beneath those disguises, we're all one consciousness.
So we really have to encourage each other and support each other, going above and beyond and challenge our belief system.
Absolutely.
Wonderful work that you're doing. So what are the best way the audience can actually contact you?
Okay. Well, my personal website is quantumconsciousness.com.au. We also have our institute for quantumconsciousness.com. And to learn more about Michael Newton's work, that's newtoninstitute.org. So lots of information on those websites, interviews, articles. There's a meditation program on the second one that I mentioned, the Institute one. There's also conversations about 2028, trying to create a different future for the planet. So, there's lots of things for people to come and have a look at and to get some value from.
Amazing. I'll put this into the description box and also on the screen as well. So the audience, you can directly check out on this beautiful website and also read books and listen to the channels. And there are so many free resources out there for you to explore.
Absolutely.
And thank you very much, Pete, for coming to the show and your insight and wisdom. We really appreciate the work that you do.
Thanks so much, Apple. It's been great talking to you.
And to the audience, thank you for watching and see you in the next episode.